Morning everyone, welcome to the Common Assessment Standard overview presentation for YORhub. Just on the actual day of it, which was the 30th of April, we had some technical issues and couldn't record, so this has been recorded on the Friday, and we'll be obviously sharing this and the slides with everyone. And once again, apologies for the technical issues of not being able to share it on the actual day. Just to give you a bit of a welcome introduction, so I'm Callum McIntyre, a Senior Procurement Officer at Leeds City Council, and also the Assistant Framework Manager for YORbuild in the West. Just a little bit of background on YORhub. So YORhub is a suite of frameworks set up and run by 4 Yorkshire authorities, which are Sheffield City Council, Leeds City Council, East Riding of Yorkshire Council, and North Yorkshire Council. The frameworks cover building and construction disciplines, and each of the regions, North, South, East, and West, is managed by a framework programme manager from across the 4 local authorities. The YORhub suite of frameworks is provided to help the public sector deliver quality construction projects, and it is for public sector organisations to use, and it's managed by public sector authorities. The areas covered are YORconsult, which is consultation needs, YORbuild, which is obviously building and construction related, and then YORcivils, which again is building but also roads and other things like that. And then for more information on YORhub and any of the different sort of frameworks, you can pop onto the website, which is linked there. The Supply Chain Engagement Programme, or SCEP. So this is YORhub's sort of help to try and involve businesses that are interested in supplying construction services or goods to our framework contractors. So we have a number of framework contractors that are appointed to each of the frameworks and the lots, and the SCEP is there to try and support subcontractors and other parties that are interested in supplying those main framework contractors. As part of supporting that, we're aiming to host a number of online webinars over this year to carry out any updates and training of what we can. And then if you want to, you can become a member of YORhub, and there are benefits of being a member, such as being notified of any works that have been put out to tender by the framework contractors, and you can bid for those. The notifications will come through if you've put that you're interested in a certain area of work, or you deliver a certain area of work and they put out a bid for that, then it'll notify you automatically. Again, you can be invited to more of these sort of webinars and seminars and training that we do. And to join the SCEP membership, you've got a link there, and that'll also go through further benefits as well. It does also, you will get notified when we have a Meet the Buyer event, and it gives contractors and suppliers the opportunity to meet and speak to the YORhub main framework contractors and pass your details over to them, and they can similarly pass details on about not just YORhub works, but any works they've got going on. You can find out more about how you can bid for those works and how you can hopefully work with the framework contractors.
Morning all. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Steph Wright and I'm Construction Framework Assistant Manager working at East Riding Council. I'm also the YORcivil Framework Manager for the North and East area, so covering the whole North and East region. If you do have any questions, I have provided our contact email address there. Please feel free to email us. We'll provide any information and assistance that we can. So what is a Common Assessment Standard, or CAS, as we refer to it as? It's a standard questionnaire all authorities and some private sector companies will be using to assess suppliers. So because a number of main contractors are also going to be using it, it is going to try and create some consistency across the industry. For those of you who are currently or who previously worked for a local authority, you're probably familiar with the PAS 91 questionnaire. You might also be starting to become familiar with the CAS. So why did we change? The SI confirmed that PAS 91 would no longer be supported or updated, and that meant that as things were changing, we were constantly increasing the number of questions within our supplementary questionnaires, and it was purely to replace the outdated tables within the PAS. So essentially, we had to change. We also had a procurement policy note issued in 2024, which stated that all local authorities had to use the standard pre-qualification questionnaire. Because PAS 91 was not being updated anymore, we needed something to happen. Build UK were formed in 2015 and they represent major contractors, clients, and the supply chain. They are committed to driving change across the industry. So they came along, they took the PAS 91 document, updated it, came around clients and added in those additional questions that were important to clients, and put it all together and they created the CAS. It is constantly being updated to reflect new changes. It does ask a lot of the same questions, but sometimes in a different way. Not all the questions need to be answered either. And Build UK have actually described this as the PAS 91 Plus, so that shows you how similar it actually is. It does allow for certification, which reduces the paperwork needed when you're actually submitting your tenders, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about this later. The latest version of the CAS is 4.1. This was updated to align with the requirements of the new Procurement Act. So that shows you they are constantly on top of it and making the changes that are required for the industry. If you are looking to gain the conformity certificate, there's a number of different options. So we've currently got 7 assessment bodies and there's 2 levels. So you can have a desktop or a site-based, but it's up to you to discuss that with the assessment bodies to determine what's best for your company. We can't advise on that, unfortunately. They do all have different costs, so we do advise you to look at them all. One good thing about CAS is the assessment requirements are exactly the same regardless of which body you choose. So you don't need to hold multiple accounts, and you don't need to go to the most expensive one. So do shop around. You may have already seen a copy of the CAS, but if not, I have provided a link here to where you can download a copy. There are 10 sections. All questions are required unless otherwise stated. So section 1, which has 26 questions, if you answer no to question 18, so you're not a sheltered workshop or social enterprise, you don't have to answer question 19. If you're a UK-based company, you don't have to answer questions 25 and 26. So for most people, section 1 will have 23 questions. If you don't work on projects in the scope of the Building Safety Act, so that's higher risk buildings, you don't need to complete section 7 at all. So there's lots and lots of questions and sections that you don't need to complete, but it does really depend on the types of works that you are carrying out. So you really need to read through it and fully understand it. Some questions do require evidence. So under section 2, you're required to provide your accounts covering your last 2 years and various insurance policy documents. Please don't leave any questions blank unless it's specifically stated, because it could result in rejection of your tender, and obviously we don't want that. And please also read the requirements for each tender. So make sure that you can achieve those minimum levels of turnover, insurance, anything else that your tender might be rejected for. Tenders for each authority are different and each have different minimum standard requirements, and they are based upon the authority and the type of works. So we are working together to create consistency, and this is helped by the CAS. So when you bid in, you can actually complete the blank copy of the CAS that's provided with the tender, submit that along with all the evidence that's required. If you've already got a completed questionnaire and you know it's up to date and it is the correct version. So for example, if we put out a tender with version 4.1 and you've got a completed 3.2, we can't accept that 3.2. It must be the 4.1 that we've asked for. But if you've already got a copy of that, you know it's up to date, you can submit that along with all the required evidence. So you don't need to copy all the information over. If you do have a conformity certificate, then you don't need to complete the full document again. Unfortunately, the certificate doesn't give us actual specific information, so we can't accept the certificate on its own. So you need to provide a copy of the certificate along with some specific evidence. Each authority will have its own requirements, but generally, this is what you'll need. So a copy of your accounts. The certificate just shows us that accounts have been submitted. We need to see your accounts showing your last 2 years' turnover. Some authorities require you to provide your profit and loss figures. So make sure that you do read the tender. Some authorities may accept your account as uploaded to the central digital platform, which again I'll talk about in a moment. But these accounts must show all the required information as stated by the tender. So make sure that you are reading the tender documents. We need your insurance policy documents. Again, the certificate only shows that insurance is in place. We do need to see the documents to confirm current levels, excesses, and any other information as required. We need a copy of your SSIP certificate. This is needed to determine whether you have basic health and safety, principal contractor, principal designer. Again, it's as required by the tender. Any trade organisation certificates. So if the tender states that you must have NICI or GasSafe or LEA, then you must provide a copy of that certificate as evidence. And then any other information as required. Each authority will ask for different information. So as I say, I can't say it clearly enough. Please make sure you are reading the tender documents. And if you're unsure, please ask a question. We're generally very happy to help. I just wanted to give a quick overview of the new Procurement Act because it does affect the minimum standards I've just described. So the Act came into effect on the 24th of February. This was a delay from the original launch date in October 24, but it is now in place. So the main changes which might affect you as suppliers are the introduction of the new central digital platform that's within the Find a Tender service. I've provided a link here, but we will provide a full link with the slides in case this doesn't work. I haven't put it on here because it is quite long, and it just provides guidance for you to actually sign up to the central platform. It is a requirement for all public bodies that tenders above threshold have to be advertised here, but also any bidding suppliers must be signed up and provide their information through this. So it is a requirement of all tenders above threshold. It's fairly basic at the moment, but we do expect it to expand over time. And currently, we do require you to provide a download of your information. And that's simply because our Your Tender portal doesn't fully link through yet. We are hoping it will change, but at the moment it doesn't. So this will also be set out in the contract documents. There's a requirement to publish at least three KPIs for all projects above 5 million. Some authorities are choosing to publish these KPIs for all projects, including those under threshold. So it is important to realise that the KPIs you're signing up are likely to be published. They're likely to be out there in the public domain. And there's a change to notices. So there's now a new notice to be published on the Find a Tender portal, which starts the standstill period where applicable. So you'll receive your feedback, the notice will be published, and then the standstill period will last for 8 working days. So day 1 starts the day that the notice is published. This is a change from the previous regulations where the standstill started the day after the letters were issued. Notices were only published once a contract had been awarded. We are still required to provide notices when tenders are published for all open tenders, so that information is still going to be out there through the Find a Tender. And speaking of Find a Tender, it can send notifications for open tenders that you might be interested in. So once you have your account, search for current opportunities, but then save that search and opt into emails. And you will receive them when any notices are published relating to your search. Some of you might already be familiar with that, but it's something that we've just learned, so I just wanted to share. And the last thing to mention is the Your Tender Mercell portal. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, it's a tender portal used by local authorities in the Yorkshire area, and we advertise our current opportunities here, and there is a link. So you can search current tenders by clicking the current tenders link. You will need to register in order to download documents and bid for any work. and you can do that by clicking the new supplier registration. They do have some great user guides available in the support portal, or you can email or phone them for assistance, and they are very, very helpful. So if you're having any issues, please do contact them. And that's it from us. So, as I've said, if you have any questions, please do email us on that construction.management@eastriding.gov.uk, or you can respond to Callum's email, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.